The history of the United States of America is a complex and multifaceted story that spans over 4 centuries, beginning with the arrival of European explorers in the late 15th century and continuing to the present day. Here is a summary of some of the key events and developments that have shaped the nation's history. The indigenous people of North America, including the Inca, Maya, and Aztec civilizations, lived on the continent for thousands of years before the arrival of Europeans. They had their own distinct cultures, languages, and political systems. In 1492, Christopher Columbus sailed across the Atlantic and reached the Caribbean islands, marking the beginning of European exploration and colonization of the Americas. The Spanish, French, Dutch, and English established colonies and trading posts along the eastern seaboard of North America in the 16th and 17th centuries. In 1775, tensions between the British colonies and the British government boiled over into armed conflict. The colonists declared their independence in 1776, and after a long and bitter war, they won their freedom in 1783. In 1787, the United States Constitution was drafted and ratified, creating a federal system of government with 3 branches: the legislative, executive, and judicial. George Washington was elected the first president in 1789, and the new government began to establish itself. In the 19th century, the United States rapidly expanded westward, acquiring new territories through purchase, negotiation, and war. The Louisiana Purchase, which doubled the size of the country in 1803, and the Mexican-American War, which added California and other western states in 1848, were 2 key events in this process. The issue of slavery, which had been a divisive issue from the nation's earliest days, finally led to a full-blown crisis in the mid-19th century. In 1861, 11 southern states seceded from the Union, leading to a bloody civil war that lasted 4 years. The Union was ultimately victorious, and slavery was abolished throughout the country. After the Civil War, the country struggled to rebuild and to come to terms with the legacy of slavery. Reconstruction policies sought to integrate African Americans into society and politics, but these efforts were ultimately undermined by a rise in racist violence and the establishment of Jim Crow laws that enforced segregation and discrimination. The United States entered World War I in 1917 and played a key role in the Allied victory. The country emerged from the war as a major world power and became even more influential in the aftermath of World War II, which it entered in 1941 after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. The United States played a leading role in defeating the Axis powers and became a dominant force in the post-war world. In the mid-20th century, African Americans and other marginalized groups began to push for greater civil rights and social justice. The civil rights movement, which included protests, boycotts, and legal challenges, led to significant gains in the 1960s and beyond, including the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. In recent decades, the United States has continued to grapple with social, political, and economic challenges, including globalization, income inequality, and partisan polarization. The country has also faced significant national crises, such as the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001, and the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic.